Hello everyone, you join us here today with the wild Defender Octa. I've been waiting to drive this vehicle for quite some time now, and we finally have it here for a full week of testing. Hopping inside, very solid door thunk, pop our seatbelt on right here, and power up the Defender Octa. And you'll notice it's a quite quiet startup actually. Cold starts definitely are a little bit louder, I will say, but generally it's just a very quiet vehicle when you want it to be. But of course we have a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 mild hybrid under the hood from BMW. Crazy power number, 620 plus horsepower, 8-speed ZF sourced automatic. We have a 2-speed transfer case. We also have locking differentials in this vehicle. We have adaptive air suspension, as well as this 6D hydraulic suspension as well. Yeah, this thing is truly nuts. Totally new steering rack, wider body, wider track width, custom designed tires. So, to sum up the week with the Land Rover Defender Octa, this thing has just been an absolute blast to drive around. I genuinely have had such a great time just dailying this car. I forget about sometimes all of the insane capabilities that it has because it is so comfortable. The suspension, the ride quality in here, the visibility out of the Defender, the ease to just drive this monster is truly stunning, and it's been one of my biggest highlights, I would say, over the course of this week. We have auto brake hold. As you can see, you can turn on and off through the infotainment system. There's a 48-volt mild hybrid system, so stop starts are you don't even notice they really happen other than hearing the V8 behind you. And the steering is just fantastic in this car as well. So in this vehicle, in the Defender Octa, we actually have a 13.7:1 steering rack versus the typical Defenders, which have around, I think, a 18 or 19:1. It's a really slow rack, but this definitely ups the ante quite a lot. So you have a lot more precise steering, a lot more quicker turning, I would say, which is crazy for a vehicle that weighs this much and supposed to be off-roading. But the 6D Dynamics suspension system keeps everything in check. This thing actually has around the same roll center as a typical Defender, even though it can go up to like 12.7 inches of ground clearance, which is crazy. All thanks to this 6D Dynamics suspension. And I think one of the amazing pieces of this Defender Octa that I like this week is that it is so versatile. You literally can do any sort of driving on any sort of driving surface, including a day-to-day basis, and it's not overwhelmingly, insane. You have 627 horsepower, but driving around town in auto or comfort mode, it just feels like a regular vehicle with a lot of torque. So you never are really like revving it out in a day-to-day driving scenario. It's just, you're up around 2,000–3,000 RPM, and you have more than enough low-end torque and just power to get you up and going. The suspension is completely so planted. I always feel like there's a tire somewhere deep into the ground, even though you just feel like you're just floating over everything in some cases. But don't let that fool you. It's not a floaty car whatsoever. It's so controlled and precise in its body movement. Going around a corner, this thing always remains quick and flat, and the steering is so quick, it just feels a little unnatural for a vehicle of this size. There isn't a lot in terms of feel, especially with these off-road tires on it, but I think that's fine. Put into Octa mode just for a quick second here, and you can hear some stuff going on. The exhausts open up, as well as the suspension gets into a new height. Little loss of traction there. Traction control is also re-optimized in Octa mode. This is the mode that Defender and Land Rover say, you can use on any extreme surface, off-roading or on a track, and it's gonna have the most fun while being the most controlled. And as you can see there with these off-road rubbers, a little wetness on the ground, throwing it into a corner and slamming it will let the rear out just a little bit. So this car can be quite a little bit of fun when you want it to be, which is kind of cool. You know, compared to the supercharged V8, sure, it is quiet, but it is not a quiet vehicle whatsoever. It's actually quite loud. I'll pop it into the sport transmission here as we're heading out onto the highway, so you can get a little bit of a taste for what that feels like. You do get a little bit of even more quicker shifts out of this 8-speed ZF. You can also manually shift it here. Here's some exhaust pops. I'll shut up for a second. Yeah, those shifts are lightning quick. And of course, you can use these paddle shifters whenever you would like. You can also disable the paddles if you don't want them on as well. Merging onto the highway, as you would expect, is no issue whatsoever. Ooh, the shifts have a little bit of some feedback to them as well. I kind of like that through the drivetrain. Very connected feeling. And that's another thing about this car, is you really feel like you're driving it. You know, Land Rover, Range Rover products have probably one of the most advanced terrain and traction systems for, you know, all-terrain surfaces in the industry still. And those are really doing a lot of work in the background to keep you in check at all times in any sort of surface. But they also, in this Octa, what I'm feeling is they've allowed some fun into this car. And throughout all of these systems, I really like that. And you do feel like you are driving the car at sometimes, which I really appreciate. And I'm surprised how playful this chassis actually is, and how stable it is. You know, if you are kind of, you know, going into a corner and letting it out loose a little bit, you don't feel like you're gonna either A, flip over, or B, just spin out of control. It's actually really controlled. So again, huge props over to the team over at JLR. On the highway with these off-road tires, it's a little bit on the noisier side as expected. But I will say it is actually still very comfortable and very secure and stable. Again, this quick steering makes lane changes very quick if that's something you're concerned about. The ride quality is absolutely sublime, though overall it is actually generally quite quiet in here. Defenders are pretty quiet. They almost feel like a luxury pod, just a little bit of some wind noise coming in. You can't really escape physics with the overall boxy shape, but it's a really nice, comfortable, quiet experience out here. Now, we also do have radar adaptive cruise control in the Octa, as well as distance control, lane keep assist. It isn't, I wouldn't say, the best system on the planet. We'll just set our speed real quick right here, and we have a distance adjustment right there. We can also go to a full driver assisted screen here if you would like to, you know, just have that information primarily be displayed for you. So it's have a little defender showing your following distance there, which is quite cool. And you can change your distance there through different set points. Though I will say there are way better systems in the market. I know they're working on some newer stuff and a little more advanced stuff. This is not a lane centering system. It just kind of pogo sticks you in between the lanes and doesn't let you leave them really. But yeah, I know. I guess you don't really need all this stuff for an off-roading type of vehicle at the end of the day, if you're primarily going to be using it for that. But of course, we have blind spot, and really great blind spot system, actually. Lane departure, warning, interventions, all of that stuff works really well. Here's some burbles. Whew. That is a wild, wild engine off-roading. Just listen to these burbles. That is so much fun. But yeah, overall, this is one of my favorite vehicles I have driven this year. I don't want to give it back. It's so much fun. It's comfortable. You know, fuel economy as well, not great. I've been getting around like 15 miles per gallon, but filling it up actually costs almost around the same, at least over here in New Jersey, than it did in a typical 4-cylinder Defender. Now, of course, we do also have to do an audio test of this Land Rover Defender Octa with its fabulous Meridian surround sound system and the insane body and soul seats. That these seats legit have speakers in them, and you can adjust the level of, you know, feedback going to and from these seats. So we'll pop it into our audio test mode right here and have a quick little listen to what's going on in this audio system. I'm not sure you're going to be able to tell the sound in my seats, but you'll have a little bit of a listen to that. You can make those adjustments here with the body and soul function. You have up to 5 levels of adjustment. Put on 5. Okay, that is such an interesting feeling. So you can turn this off as well for the seat, but it's such a unique feeling sound system in this vehicle, especially with these body and soul seats. I almost want to say if you want a massage, you got to turn on almost like a bassier song, because you genuinely will notice it, which is pretty cool actually. But I actually quite like them. I usually have it set to around a 2. I think 5 is a little too aggressive, but overall sound system wise, really crystal clear, top tier audio system. You have a little bit of adjustment throughout the settings. It's not the most amount of adjustment you're going to get in an audio system, so keep that in mind. We can adjust things like our bass, treble, sub, and there's 2 different sound profile settings for this Meridian system. There's a Meridian sound profile and a stereo system, as well as your a little bit of an equalizer there, but that's really it. Otherwise, I think it's a fantastically tuned system, really great all-around audio, especially for such like a boxy cabin that we have here on this Defender. And the body and soul seats are just so cool, and there's even a wellness function, as you can see here. So you can set these on and they'll literally do a wellness mode, so it'll kind of play some sounds almost like a massage would, and kind of play that audio around you. You can adjust that with your volume here. Quick listen to that. Ooh, I feel invigorated. That actually works quite well. So yeah, lots of cool stuff with these body and soul seats as well, in addition to our audio system. So really great stuff there. Go drive one if you have a chance to. You will not regret it. And is it worth the money? Is it something you should consider over a G-Wagon? I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah, I think I would actually look at this over a G63. I just love the G63. There is a step of you know, maybe quality and customizability, and of course that status factor you can get with that vehicle, but this thing is real close. It's real close. In some cases I almost want to say it's either just as, or if not more capable. It's really impressed me over this week, and it's a true luxury, high power, all-terrain off-roader that can do it all, and you feel extremely confident driving it. As always guys, thank you for joining me here on Allcarnews, and stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.